How's it going, everybody? Bryan Alvarez here on Wrestling Observer Live. We're here every day, Monday through Friday, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, Sundays, 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern. We got a lot of news to get into here today on the show. I would guess that most of the commentary is going to be on the Jon Moxley interview on Talk is Jericho, but hey, if you're done talking about that, you don't have to talk about it. We got a lot of news to get into here today. I am, of course, willing to talk about it for years now, if need be, but lots of stuff to get into here today. WWE ratings from Monday and Tuesday night. Monday, all that talk about this is the big follow-up show to the AEW pay-per-view, and whatever Vince's idea was of, let's do an hour and 15 minutes with no good wrestling. Let's show this AEW what we do best. Sports entertainment. Well, it did poorly, in fact. 2.19 million viewers. The fourth lowest number for the show in modern history. Not a good number there. SmackDown on Tuesday, with no real strong sports competition, was up 5%, so I guess if you're a WWE fan, you can celebrate that. And of course, they announced that the big hook for next week's Raw show is the return of The Undertaker. He is going to be on Raw Monday night, and I'm sure set up the match with Goldberg, which is coming up at the Super Showdown in an undisclosed location, which just happens to be Saudi Arabia. Hey, if you're going to the Raw show on Monday, and one of the Kaylas or whoever comes up to you and says, hey, you want to ask a question for the hot seat, the electric chair, a great question would be, hey, where's the Super Showdown taking place from? See if you get an honest answer. I ain't going to let you ask the question, but you can always try. So that is the big stories here for the show today. If you want to give us a call, 844-411-5411 is the phone number. That is toll-free, 844-411-5411. You kids even know what toll-free means anymore? I don't know how old I am, actually. And 425-780-7566 is the text message line. We will be back in just a moment to kick it off. Wrestling Observer Live. Back on the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. Alan here says it's toll full from the UK. Well, you gotta Skype to a phone number. That's free. I mean, whatever you have to pay for your $5 monthly Skype deal or whatever, but that's the way to do it. All right, I got a lot of news to get into here today. Let's talk about the ratings very quickly. Raw on Memorial Day, 2.19 million viewers. Fourth lowest number for the show in modern history. The only episodes lower, last year's shows on both Christmas and New Year's Eve, and the April 29, 2019 show, which did 2.16 million viewers. Now, granted, you could say, well, it was a holiday. That's true. But you notice those other record low numbers were not Memorial Day. So, not a great number. Show down 12%. 12% from Memorial Day last year. So you can't really blame Memorial Day. And that show did go up against the Game 7 of the Warriors-Rockets playoffs. So keep in mind, they had very strong competition last year, and they were still down at 12% this year. These are not good numbers. There was, however, not the usual big first to third hour drop, and that's largely because nobody tuned in at the beginning of the show. 2.27 million, 2.25 million, 2.05 million. So I guess the good news is they didn't run people off with an hour of no wrestling, but nobody watched that hour. So because we only get hourly numbers, I mean, it is possible that they lost a lot of viewers in that first hour where there was no professional wrestling. Obviously, the idea that, hey, stick around because at the end of the show, Brock Lesnar's going to cash in that briefcase. They tried that last week, and it worked out okay. Fool me once is the lesson here. These people were not fooled twice, and they will not be fooled next week either. SmackDown, however, 2.072 million viewers, which was matching the April 23rd episode for the highest number since the Superstar Shakeup. There was no competition. Both NBA and the NHL had the night off, so they were up 5%. And they retained 95% of Raw's audience, which tells you how poorly Raw did. And year over year, they were only down 6%. So SmackDown not affected as badly as Raw. And quite frankly, SmackDown was a better show. So those are your numbers. Nothing really new, nothing really surprising. The only thing really of note is that they did absolutely nothing. I had mentioned this on maybe it was yesterday's show, but for sure on a Dave show. I mean, I've been hearing for well over a decade, almost 20 years I've been hearing, what Vince needs to shake everything up is competition. If he only had competition, man, he'd make some big changes. He'd turn this ship around. The one thing Vince needs more than anything else, strong competition. Well, there was very strong competition that kicked off on Saturday night, and his response was nothing. In fact, his response was a worse Raw than usual because they decided not to put pro wrestling in the first hour. So, we'll see what happens when AEW gets national television, but this was not a promising sign.
No. But you can lament, I'm talking about competition, but what else can you do? At least you can hope for that if you're a fan on the outside, is hope that something spurns them on to change things and to mix things up. And are they? No, because whatever Vince wants, that's what Vince is going to do. So, but you can't blame people for hoping that at least it spurs them on to do a little bit of something else, because the last time there was competition, they at least came across as a little bit hungrier. Now, they haven't had much competition over the last bunch of years, and they have never been this bad. And I think it just really, everyone, I assume at this point, realizes that it's Vince McMahon, and unless Vince gets out of the way, things are probably going to continue in the exact same way that they are, unless he absolutely hits on a miracle. But again, you can at least keep hoping. You're right. Will it change anything? Probably not. But what else are you supposed to do? Offer up nothing? It's still going to be that bad. So, yeah, competition may not help the matter, but at least it's not going to hurt it either.
So that is the story of the ratings there. I mean, the one thing I did hear yesterday, you always have the very, very strong WWE loyalists, and they've always got to have some explanation for all of this, some sort of defense for all of this. And their defense for Raw, which it's funny, their defense is, well, clearly Vince doesn't care. So I guess that is a defense for Raw being bad.
It's a good way to run a business.
He doesn't care about AEW. If that makes you sleep better at night, if that makes you feel better that Vince doesn't care about AEW, then that's great. But if you listen to that Dean Ambrose podcast, I mean, like I mentioned yesterday, if you think, there seem to be people that believe, well, the only people in WWE that feel this way were Dean Ambrose and Sasha Banks and the Revival. And Luke Harper wouldn't feel that way, of course, if he were actually getting pushed. He only feels that way because they're not doing anything with him. So, I mean, if that's what you believe, then fine, sleep well at night. But the reality is, those are not the only people that feel this way. Most of the people that feel this way are going about it the right way, the way that Dean Ambrose went about it, which is, I'm not going to complain about it. I'm not going to cry about it. I'm not going to request my release. I mean, that did wonders for Luke Harper and the Revival and Sasha Banks. I'm just going to finish out my contract, and then I'm going to leave. And there are many people that are going to do that. And granted, there are only so many spots in AEW, but guess what? There are spots in Ring of Honor and Impact Wrestling and New Japan. And obviously, if you're I keep throwing out the name Randy Orton because that's the name that everyone else says, and I think that Randy Orton in AEW would be just the absolute best. The personification of WWE and WWE style as a top heel. But I mean, if you're an undercard guy like Luke Harper, you're not making $1 million a year in WWE, okay? And I realize that historically, Impact and Ring of Honor haven't paid a ton of money, but I can tell you for a fact that over the last 6 to 8 months, people have gotten offers and contracts from Ring of Honor and Impact Wrestling that would very much surprise you. I mean, they're not $1 million deals or anything like that, but they're not nothing deals. So there are places for people to work. And not only that, there's never been a better time to make big money on the indies. So there are people that are going to sit out their contracts and they're going to leave WWE. And one of the reasons for that is because Vince McMahon doesn't apparently care about AEW, even though he should based on that podcast.
Is it that he doesn't care or doesn't know how to react to it? Because,
well, my feeling is he does care. Everyone else's opinion is he doesn't, because Raw was lame.
Everyone else would be an idiot then, because, again, by all accounts, too, when you hear Vince McMahon talked about, it's like Dean Ambrose said, he's really excited. Well, Dean wasn't, but Vince is really excited for the ideas that he has. You can't say he doesn't. He doesn't understand what he's doing isn't working. He's not connecting with the people he wants to connect with. He doesn't. The characters aren't connecting in the way that he believes in his head that they are. If you go off just that Dean Ambrose interview, and frankly off the television, you could tell that there's a large disconnect there. But no one can say that he doesn't care. It's just what he's thinking isn't working.
I want to mention also, since we talked about this a couple of days ago and there was no update, this person says, Vince scripted the AEW line on Monday. I bet it was to see how much of a reaction it would get from a WWE audience in Kansas. So one of these days, unless like he gets a job as an agent and like he lives, I don't know. Anyway, the point is, unless Sammy is a lifer, like one of these days, Sammy is going to do an interview and he's going to tell you exactly what happened. And what happened, I mean, what I can tell you for sure, and I don't know like all the circumstances and what happened during the day, but what I know for sure is Sammy was under the impression that he was supposed to say that line. And he did not go into business for himself. He did not decide that it would be something edgy, but he decided, or he didn't decide. He was told that line was okay. And by the time Raw went on the air, that line was not okay. And however things happen, they happen. But Vince was absolutely furious that line made television. And he did talk to Sami Zayn afterwards. I don't know what was discussed, but that's the story of what happened on Monday. Back in a moment.
Great way to bring him back.
Yes, Wrestling Observer Live. Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. So, that's the most annoying thing. This is even worse than the WWE apologists, is the Vince Russo fans. So, I usually just like ignore them, but I got to at least address this here today. I don't even know why, just because it's fun. This person says, does it even matter if Ambrose left WWE? I think it's a work anyway. Vince sent him to AEW just to work the fans. I think he is funding that company. And then this person here says, are WWE and AEW working together? Vince Russo is claiming this factually on Twitter. So, I shouldn't have even mentioned this because, like, all he's looking for is for people to talk about him, because otherwise nobody talks about him except to say he's an idiot. But I will talk about him, and I will say that he is an absolute idiot. Now, this is not really a defense of Vince Russo, because he is an absolute idiot, okay? But there is, like, a reason that you see these conspiracy theories, not just in professional wrestling, but, like, all over the world in real life. There's all sorts of conspiracies, whether it be politics, environment, whatever, and professional wrestling, these conspiracy theories. And the reason, as I mentioned yesterday, that there are conspiracy theories is because people find it hard to believe that they're looking for a way to explain something that seems ridiculous, or that they want to make sense of something that seems preposterous. And this AEW WWE thing, like if you watched Raw and it's like that's their reaction, it doesn't make any sense, okay? It reminds me, there are a lot of people that, regarding the Pac and AEW deal, there are a lot of people that believe that it's a visa issue. And I would not consider these people stupid. This is very different. Like, there's a level of stupidity involved to think that WWE and AEW are working together, like a profound level of stupidity. The visa thing is not stupidity, but here's the thing with people believing that Pac did not do the show because he had a visa issue. And then we got this story about the Dragon Gate title and all this and that. So here is the story about why Pac was not at the AEW show, okay? So Pac was supposed to face Adam Page. I'll make this as quick as I can. So the idea was that Pac was going to beat Adam Page, and then at either the Fight for the Fallen or the next pay-per-view or whatever, they were going to do Kenny Omega versus Pac, and Kenny Omega was going to win. So this was all agreed to months and months and months ago. Everything was all ready to go. So shortly before the pay-per-view, Pac alerted the company that there are no plans for me to drop the Dragon Gate title. And I guess the idea was he's not going to be champion forever. So, like, he can beat Hangman, and then when he drops the title, we'll do the match, and Kenny Omega can beat him. Well, apparently, whatever the plans were in Dragon Gate, they were changed, and he was told, you're not losing the belt, like, any time in the near future. So, at that point, in AEW's mind, well, we're going to have this guy beat Adam Page, who's one of our biggest stars, and then he can't lose to Kenny Omega, because Pac told them I could do no jobs as the Dragon Gate champion. And at that point, their whole thing was, well, we're doing all clean finishes at the pay-per-view. Wins and losses matter. It doesn't make any sense for Pac to come in and beat one of our big stars and then, like, go on and have to beat everybody else because he can't do jobs. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull him from the show, and when he loses the title, we will book Pac again. That was what they came up with. Now, I've had people say, dude, like, if you don't want him to do a job, why couldn't it have been a three-way with Pac and Hangman can beat the other guy? And then Pac is still on the show, but he didn't do a job. I have no idea. They had a bunch of different ideas, and they just decided, you know what, it's easier to just not have the guy on the show. We'll do the match in England, we'll air it on Tuesday or whatever, we'll give the people the match, just not on the pay-per-view, and away we go. So, this is so convoluted to some people that their presumption is this can't possibly be why he was not on the show. It's more likely that he had a visa issue, and that's why he's not on the show. Well, at the end of the day, Occam's razor, if the reality was that he had a visa issue, it would have been so much easier to just say, Pac has a visa issue, he can't be here, he's off the show. Nobody would have complained about it. Nobody would have been upset about AEW. Nobody would have questioned their booking and their ideas and everything like that. It would have been over and done with in 15 minutes, and everybody would have moved on. But instead, this story here, people are still talking about it 2 years later. It's led to people going, dude, how are they going to run weekly television? Like, this is madness. Like, you took the guy off the show, you couldn't do another finish or put another guy in there or do whatever. Like, people are still baffled by this 2 weeks later. It would have been so much easier to just say it was a visa issue if it was a visa issue. But it wasn't a visa issue, and so we still have this. So the point of this is why conspiracy theories spring up, because people look at something and they just go, like, what? This doesn't even make any sense. That's what people think about Raw. I believe Vince Russo is just out there trying to push people's buttons and get people talking and rally his base and just be an idiot, but I understand some conspiracy theories for certain reasons, but this one's just stupid. It's madness. It's idiotic.
Well, it's a timely relic in that we're just coming back off of the Viceland documentary, dredging back up. Did Vince and Brett, was Brett in on all of that? Did they plan all of that? Was he all of that?
Some people say yes, because they hear the Montreal story, and it's like, if you hear it in 2019, it's preposterous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Oh, the camera crew that just happened to be there and everything?
All
yes.
of that. But it was a different time, and it was a different place, and it was a bunch of things that all happened to come together in a perfect storm, and it was real. But looking back at it in 2019, I can at least understand people going, dude, this is weird. Like, really? All of that over a belt?
The realest stuff is always sometimes faker than wrestling. So, it's the some of the things you can write don't end up being as great as what you get by happenstance, and that's what that was. But those conspiracy theories never went away. They get dredged back up. We're in an era now where there's more conspiracy theories than ever, so it doesn't surprise me in the least that somebody would want to latch onto that and throw it up against the wall. It's when you give it any sort of attention whatsoever is where it becomes the problem. So, I would probably just be done with it at this point.
This person here, on an unrelated note, says, will the match with Marko Stunt be streamed anywhere for people to watch? Yes, in fact. The former Powerbomb.tv, now IndependentWrestling.tv, will be streaming it in 2 days, 1 hour, 56 minutes, and 38 seconds. So if you would like to see this match, you can go to IndependentWrestling.tv. There may even be a promo code if you search around for it to watch for free. In fact, I believe if you go to the Black Label Pro Twitter at BLabelPro, you might be able to find one to watch it for free. But all of the matches will be streamed, and you can also get access to all of the other matches from Black Label Pro's shows, including the matches I have done there, the last Marko Stunt match, the Rock and Roll Express match with me and Filthy Tom. It's all up there at independentwrestling.tv. This coming Saturday night, June 1st, 4:30 Central, Crown Point, Indiana. I will retweet the information about that show here in a bit, but
it's a great service over there. They got Uncharted Territory every
all
Wednesday.
sorts of stuff.
Beyond Wrestling's putting on, basically you can see almost every match that Filthy Tom Lawler has ever been involved in somewhere on that site, including many Black Label Pro matches. But my big question to you is, I know it's not up on Black Label or on the independentwrestling.tv website. Is the snuff video that was recorded at Poder between you and Logan Stunt, is that ever going to be released and put out there so people can see this type of beating? And
you got to talk to Ed.
I say, because would Mama Stunt show up to this if she saw what? I mean, she saw the results of what happened to her baby. I mean, why does she want to be there to see this in person?
Because she thinks that Marco's going to get revenge. She's
funny.
Incorrect. To the phones, you're on the air. What's going on?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
What's up?
So did you catch the Double or Nothing on pay-per-view? Like, I know Dave did. I was just wondering if you did, because like the biggest star in the show was Vinny. Once they caught a big shot of him when they were talking about the attendance.
I'm well aware we were all over that, but no, I have not watched it back yet. I don't watch him back like Dave. Dude, I was there in the front row. I got blood on my phone during that Dustin Cody match.
No, we caught you right there, but it was like a big shot of like Vinny right there.
Yeah.
I was also going to ask you, like, if you changed your thoughts on the Forgotten Son, because I know last time you talked about how you were wondering why they won the Dusty Classic, if it was because they have long hair like Triple H. But I checked those guys out on the NXT taping. That was like one of the best matches I've ever seen, because I like the way those guys work. It's what I grew up on, like a lot of like a fast-paced match with a lot of bumping and feeding, but a lot of intensity.
Well, I haven't watched the NXT show from last night yet, but I'll watch it tonight. And listen, if they have a great match, I'll be the first to tell you they have a great match. If they improve, I will be the first to tell you. You know who's improved a lot is Sonya Deville. And a few years ago, I watched Sonya Deville in NXT, and I was just appalled. I was appalled. And she has improved dramatically. And there are a lot of people that I've changed my mind on. And if the Forgotten Sons can change my mind, I'll be the happiest guy around. Because I don't like watching things that don't blow my mind. Especially on NXTV. Back in a moment, Observer Live. Back on the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. All right, a couple of things here. First off, if you'd like to attend the show this weekend, Crown Point, Indiana, myself versus Marko Stunt, I've in fact retweeted the link to get tickets. It is up there right now on my Twitter, at Bryan Alvarez, up there at the very top. As noted, I will chop Marko within an inch of his life in front of his mother and his father. I don't care about the rest of the family. I mostly want to chop him in front of his mother. And I guarantee that if you show up live for this event, it will be an experience you will never forget, especially if you're there in the splash zone, much like I was in the middle of that Dustin Cody match. I was in the legitimate splash zone, and I plan to chop him until it becomes a splash zone on Saturday night. So the link is up on my Twitter, at Bryan Alvarez, and also the secret code, if you want to sign up at independentwrestling.tv, the secret code to get 20 free days, which will get you this show on independentwrestling.tv, is in fact Black Label. So use that. You get 20 free days, including Saturday night's show. Do not miss Saturday's show. My match with Marko, no holds barred. So there will be no DQs. There will be no countouts. There will be no draws. Well, there will be draws. I will draw blood. But other than that, pinfall or submission. So there you go.
You think Grandma Stunt's going to be there?
Oh, no, are you kidding me?
Chop her?
I'm not chopping his mother.
Why? What is
I'm chopping him in front of his mother.
Chop his grandmother.
I have standards here.
Why? Stunt Granny.
No.
You know?
Let's go to the phones. You're on the air. What's going on?
Yeah, my call actually pertains to your feud with Marko Stunt. The local promotion to me, it's Cape Championship Wrestling. It's a home promotion of Marko's. I'd actually like to see your feud with Marko come there, so I could see Marko kick your ass live.
Oh, get out of here.
Cake? What was it called?
Let me tell you something.
Keebler?
That feud ain't going to go there. You want to know why? Because the feud is going to be over on Saturday night. It's going to be over. You will never see Marko Stunt on the Indies again.
Matchbox.
I will finish him off. I broke one leg, and I broke his brother's leg, and now I'm going to break his other leg. And if there's anything else available, I'll break that. If I break his leg and he doesn't give up, or if I break his leg and the stupid referee doesn't stop it, or do whatever, like the show this past weekend, I'll break his leg and then I'll break his arm next. I will keep going till this match is over.
And spit in the referee's face.
I slapped that referee so hard on Saturday. I slapped him right across the face. It was Friday. And he just walked out. He just walked away and he never came back.
He was shamed. Absolutely shamed.
Man. It was glorious.
I hope you chop Marko so hard that his mom feels it out there in the crowd there.
No, she'll feel it because it's going to be right there on the barricade right in front of her. Unrepentantly. Let's go to the phones. You're on the air. What's up?
Hey, what's up, guys? Tim in Miami. I'm scared right now, Bryan.
It should
be. That was intense. I listened to the...
Wait till you see it.
What really... I probably won't watch it. I'm sorry.
What
really stuck out to me about the Moxley thing was, he's talking about these things months later, and he's in a much better place, but was the palpable sense of frustration. And you just, kind of compared his situation to Sasha and the Revival. And I think those things are a little bit different because Moxley wasn't complaining about his push, his place on the card, or how he's being used. He's complaining that they don't know how to write a good show. And so my question for you is, we've heard about the frustration within the WWE locker room. Does it have more to do with the Sasha Revival, we're not getting pushed angle, or is it more the Moxley, these guys have no clue how to put together a good show, and I don't want to be on a bad show angle?
You'd have to ask everyone individually. I don't know. It depends on the person. Like some people want to get out there and they want to just have wrestling matches. The thing with Moxley was his big issue wasn't even the wrestling. Like he
right.
talked about it, but his big issue was my character sucks. These promos are awful. Like, I grew up cutting promos. Like, that was my thing. I was a promo guy, and I believe I can be a great promo, and I believe that I can talk people into buildings, and they have this person that doesn't even know me writing words for me and giving them to me, and it's stupid, and it sucks. Like, that was his big issue. I did find it interesting. Yes.
Oh, he was very specific. He said he hated Mondays. He hated TV. He was very specific that was the thing he complained about. But my question is, why don't more guys, especially, people with some pull there, why don't they in Vince's face? Like, if you're, Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton, okay, you're the son of Cowboy Bob and Mike Rotunda. You know that cutting the lights in the middle of a WrestleMania World Title match and projecting maggots and worms on the screen is a dumb idea. How did that go forward? Are they just not...
What's Randy going to do? Quit?
No, you say this is stupid.
I'm sure some people do say this is stupid. Like, some people have more pull than others. But, you literally have got to be like a John Cena to be able to affect any sort of change with Vince McMahon. Like, if you're a mid-carder or even an upper mid-carder, you're just going to go out there and do your thing. You might say, hey, can we not do this or whatever? But what are you going to do about it? You have two options if you're not happy there, okay? There is the Sasha Banks Revival option, which is complain really loud and ask for your release and just go about it how I believe is the wrong way. And then you've got the Dean Ambrose way, which is just, I signed this contract. That's how I do business. I'm going to finish it out, and I'm going to leave. And they're going to offer me more money, and they're going to do all sorts of bizarre things to try to get me to stay. But I'm not going to stay, and I'm going to leave, and I'm going to go somewhere else. That's your two options. There are no other options. And somebody asked a question here. I'm going to see if I can find it because it's an interesting question. It regards CM Punk. See if I can find it here. They're basically saying, like, if the CM Punk thing happened today, I should find it before I do it. You have any comments, Mike? I should go to the phones. You're on the air. What's up? I'll find it. Caller, you're on the air.
Good, because I don't have any thoughts. Let's go.
Caller, you're on the air. I'm going to give you one chance. Ready? Going once. Going twice.
Right, hey, Bryan.
Hey, what's up?
Bryan, I was just wondering, I always thought of you as a family man, and I was just curious that when you're chopping Marko into oblivion, you look over and you see Mrs. Stunt crying and begging for mercy. Do you spare Marko?
No, are you kidding me? I'm a family man with my own family. It's his fault.
But I mean, if you see those tears running down her eyes, screaming for her boy, I mean, you got to have a heart, Bryan.
Oh, yeah? Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing, buddy. Two things. First off, his stupid family could have left me alone. You ever seen what his dad says about me on Twitter? And his brother came in. He sent his Taekwondo brother in to try to take care of me.
How's that working out for him?
Marko talking all this trash on Twitter. You seen these promos this kid cuts on me? Like, this is his fault. I'm not the one who brought his mother there. He brought his mother. Like so that's discipline. It. Okay, here's the text message here. And notice how this is phrased. If CM Punk walked out of the WWE today instead of years ago, would he get the same reaction from the fans as Sasha and Leo? Well, why did you choose Sasha and Leo? How about the Revival or Luke Harper or any of the other people that have wanted out? And here's the thing, everybody. Here's the thing, okay? This is the big issue. Sasha Banks and the Revival, they signed a contract to wrestle for WWE for X number of years. And they decided that they're not happy wrestling in WWE, and they want to go wrestle somewhere else. And so they're going to complain about it, and they're going to walk out and hope that they can get released to go wrestle somewhere else. All right? CM Punk was sick of it, and he said, I quit. I am done with professional wrestling. I'm not going to wrestle anymore, ever, anywhere. And he went home and he retired. Okay? If Sasha Banks or the Revival or Luke Harper or whoever, if they decide, you know what, I don't like it here, I'm sick of wrestling, I'm going to go work at Applebee's, then, dude, go knock yourself out. Go knock yourself out. You have every right in the world to retire from professional wrestling and quit WWE and walk out on your contract and do something else for a living. Go for it. But if you agreed to wrestle for WWE for 3 years and you're unhappy because they don't push tag teams enough, or you got a belt taken off of you, or whatever, then work the rest of your 3-year contract. It's 3 years, for crying out loud. Like, I understand when you're a newborn, like 3 years is your whole life. But when you're in your 20s and 30s, like, this 3 years is going to be over before you know it. My kid's 3 years and 4 months old right now. It's like, it was a whirlwind. It's like she was just born. This 3 years is going to be over in the blink of an eye, and you cannot sign your renewal. And you can go away and wrestle for AEW or New Japan or Ring of Honor or Mexico or All Japan or wherever the hell you want to go wrestle. And you can do what Dean Ambrose did and be the happiest guy in the world. That's the deal. But no, the CM Punk thing was completely different. He just retired and he's never done anything again. Which, by the way, was exactly what I predicted would happen. So that's the story there.
Well, what a grand prediction that was. That he wouldn't go back to a place that he absolutely hated.
Anywhere.
Some people
I guess you could say he did the mask stuff, but, like, he's done with wrestling.
Yeah, that doesn't even count. But here's...
Well, Mike, there were
folks,
people that vehemently argued that he would be back in WWE at some point sooner than later.
Well, that was insanity to me. I mean, that was just nuts, but that's for another day. Here is something that people need to understand, too. Two things can be true. There can be a lot of institutional racism in wrestling, and there can be a lot of racism directed at people like Sasha Banks and Lio Rush. Absolutely. And there are people that probably have written and said things under their breath or flat out alluding to that and alluding to their race when it comes to their attitude and all that sort of stuff. And that's wrong. With that said, that doesn't make them doing things the wrong way or ways. Take that back. Ways in which that is not beneficial to their future, especially near future career. That can be the case. Both things can be right. There can be a lot of racist people out there, and they could do the thing that was bad for their business, for their personal business going forward here, at least short term, if not long term. Both of those things can be correct. Okay, and again, Sasha Banks, all of these cases are a little bit unique, so they can't all be judged together. And I get it, and I understand why people are sensitive to that. But both things can actually be correct in this case where, yes, there are people out there that are shading them for all of the wrong reasons, but you can say, and have the opinion that they are doing their business in the wrong way as well.
Alrighty, this person here says, either of you heard Jim Cornette's commentary on the AEW pay-per-view? What did you think of AEW debuting with a gimmicked commentator? Well, apparently Jim Cornette was very upset about the fact that a commentator had a mask on, but I have absolutely less than zero problem with the commentator having a mask on.
Wasn't a big fan of Alex either, which I will say this. I thought Excalibur was really good. I think they did need to explain it. He was right about that, but yeah, again, the music's playing, so we'll have to save that for another time.
Back in a moment, Observer Live. Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. Well, a couple of final text messages here, and then we will get going. This person says, if Joey Ryan turned down an AEW and WWE deal, why did he have his farewell to the Indies tour? Where is he going? I did not hear that he turned down an AEW deal. He's all over being the elite, so my presumption is that he's going to AEW, but I guess we'll see. No, forget it.
You sure?
I'm just thinking back to it's the usual stuff. I don't like to brag here on the show, but
no, of course.
Do you remember that there was that one Raw where Dean Ambrose was sitting in a chair in the middle of the ring? He said, I got a lot I got to get off my chest. And all of a sudden they cut his mic and had Nia come out.
Yes.
And all day I had to hear it's a work. And then for months, had all these people saying he's not really leaving. It's a work. He's not really leaving. It's a work. And I said he's leaving. They said he's not leaving. It's a work. And it's actually the conspiracy theory again. And this is another one. I don't really blame people on that one because if you looked at how they used him in his final... I mean, it's preposterous. Like, they pushed him to the very end. He did some jobs here and there, but then, like, the next week on TV, he's beating somebody. And then they're doing, big bell, they build up this farewell tour and farewell matches, and they win, and it's just preposterous. But he was always leaving. And where are those people now, as he is an AEW superstar? You know where they are? They're hiding, because they're cowards, like the Stunt family. And I will take care of them on Saturday night. We're out of time, everybody. I want to thank you all for listening here today. We are totally out of time. I want to thank Mike, as always, callers and listeners, everybody in the studio. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Wrestling Observer Live.
You guys are...